with anyone else. What makes Maori so special? They get over themselves. They didn't, they wouldn't have given away. They wouldn't have anyway. But what I sort of found out through the Kahuiro and is the value of the Kauri trees, the Kauri logs, because they made the ship's masts, and therefore there was the best wood. They can make bigger ships, and therefore it was a military advantage for the countries to have a trading deal with the New Zealanders. It was huge, and it was a huge industry for 100 years at least. And so that's the real power of it all, from what and it makes sense. As soon as I heard that, it made a hell of a lot of sense, and why there was so much interest in the area.
I've been doing due diligence for about 4 years now, listening to Eddie's story. But more importantly, I've been following where the story takes me around the country. Okay. And there seems to be conflicting histories about what happened here. And yes, you're talking about a resource that was hugely valuable, and that the story I've heard is that Cook towed a log back to England, and they came and did a deal after that. That was to seal the deal about how much the log was worth.
Oh, yeah.
And the story I heard is that they weighed the log and exchanged it for that much gold.
Wow.
And then there were a few boatloads of said gold came down here to set up the trade, and they mysteriously ended up on the bottom of the ocean, or some nasty chief in the wrong harbour took them out and set fire to them or whatever. And there's all the stories. So then they did the same trick that they've established as the what would we call them, the apex predator on the global supply chain. And they did the same trick again. So they said, well, come with us and we'll show you where all our golden vaults are. Okay. And here's all the gold, and this is all yours. Like, we'll go 60-40 with you guys on this global resource that we're going to turn your trees into gold.
Yeah, right.
And they did a deal across the Northern Triangle.
Now, you're talking 1770?
Yes.
Oh, yep.
And so the deals were being done then, because that's when the trade in spars and rope began to grow rapidly in the far north. They were very resourceful people.
And so
they knew the value of trade, and they traded differently to us.
Right.
But they still had it well arranged.
Yeah, okay. And it sounds like they picked up things pretty quick, and so they had the trade for the logs, and then so they had a flag that they could travel to these 63 countries. Had the deal, was part of the deals, wasn't it?
Well, what actually happened, of course, was in the 1820s, the ships got confiscated, and the deal went down where their flag was taken away from them, and they were given one that was recognised in global admiralty. And by that stage, because of what had already happened with Rule Britannia becoming the ruler of the oceans with the spars and ropes from us, effectively, they were doing the deal with the boss of the world.
Who is?
And so what I've discovered is that they effectively took the Hukioi flag of the Kahuiro Waka nations. They took their flag that they'd chosen to use when they started to build sailing ships here for trading.
Oh, yeah.
They were trading their ropes. Their flax was being turned into muka and made into fine ropes. And the trees were, as we know, sent to prop up the mines in England, to build San Francisco. The truth is, I believe, still hidden and yet to be revealed. But the story I've heard is that the resource of northern New Zealand is what funded the American Revolution.
Wow.
In the 1770s and through to the 1780s, when all that stuff was going down, it was leveraged off the Rothschild already knowing he had control of the resources down here.
And so they were an important part of the military sort of game at the time, weren't they? And which, and so
when they came to New Zealand, they knew they had to make a deal. they were dealing with a warrior nation that was not out of practice.
Yeah.
And they lived in the bush, and they knew all about guerrilla warfare, and they taught the English a thing or two about a phenomenon called trench warfare.
Yeah, yes, I did hear that. Yeah, it's quite neat, hey, how they did that. With their cannons were shot at them for days, and then they just pop up, and they really took them by surprise. Yeah,
You want to know all about that? Go to the story of Ruapekapeka, the Bat Cage.
Oh yes, yes.
But anyway, so what happened is that they had a flag they called the Hokioi flag, and that's the flag that became the P&O Orient flag.
Oh, that's the like four triangles.
The ships were stolen. Their ships were confiscated, one in Sydney and one in the Caribbean, not because of the flag they were flying, but because they were flying the fucking French flag side by side.